Hi, I'm Shannon Evans, and this is Tom Bigby Tales, and I'm going to share with you today exactly how I do my research for current um, exposés and things that I'm doing. So I've been working on this expose on Heritage Academy and the MAIS. So I'm going to show you just basically some of the things and how I go about doing the research. So go along with me, and I'll teach you how to do it, and you can double check my facts and see what you find for yourself. Because if you have a question, then you at least know how to start looking and finding the same kinds of questions I have based on the information that's available. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to go to the Heritage Academy faculty screen. So, this is the faculty page. I went to the About Us and I dropped down to faculty and staff. And there's a lovely picture of everybody in the hall at the entryway of the school. And with the exception of the head of schools and the principals, the rest is alphabetical. So recently, I was exploring new teachers. I know some of the teachers. I know, for instance, that Mr. Dodson teaches at the W, and he teaches concurrent uh, dual credit programs, and he is a qualified teacher. I do know that. I know that Mrs. Friesen has been with the school. She's a Spanish and French teacher, and she teaches dual credit through the colleges. And Mr. Gates was a public school teacher before he retired, and then he went to school at Heritage teaching history, and he has a certificate. He has an existing certificate in secondary education. But I wanted to go to the new teachers. So I pulled up, um, my first one was Allie Bowler because it came first in the alphabet. So I wanted to look at her qualifications because I was told that her qualification for teaching was that she had worked in the career field of physics briefly, and she's quite young and quite pretty, and quite brilliant based on her education, but she doesn't have uh, a teaching certificate in the traditional path. She doesn't have a Master's of Arts in Teaching. She doesn't have a teaching certificate from her work in her schoolwork. So she's going a non-traditional path to teaching, and Heritage did a little feature on her, and she said she wanted to try out teaching because she loved the idea of being a teacher. Great. We need new teachers in the industry, but we also need teachers who have experience. So when you pull up her bio, there's nothing there except it says what she teaches. So I wanted to know more. So I went into LinkedIn, and that was the first place I went to look, and I was very successful. I found her, found information on her. And as you can tell, her picture says she's open to work. Her name's Allie Bowler. She uses she, her pronouns. She has a Master's of Science in Applied Physics from Johns Hopkins University. She's located in Columbus. As you can see, she's kind of new to LinkedIn. She only has 9 connections. She's open to work as a physicist and math teacher roles. So I looked on down. I wanted to see what more about her. It shows that her work is in applied physics. Everything that I see is her husband's in the Air Force, and she likes the math field. She likes crocheting, playing ultimate frisbee, and being outdoors. But everything she's done has been in the physics applications field. So I go down here, and this is always your most current work, and then it goes to where it goes backwards essentially. So currently she's doing some part-time work as a business analyst for Credence Management. She was doing scheduling coordination for a year and 7 months. And then before that, she was a research physicist for a year and 8 months with the Air Force Research Lab. And before that, she was an intern. So it looks like they hired her um, to to continue working in the applications where she was doing image analysis and pressing and testing explosives. Great work. This is awesome real world experience, but it's not a teaching background. So I don't see anything that has to do with teaching. So then I went to the two schools. I looked up the Masters of Engineering Physics and Applied Physics curriculum to see if there were any teaching courses within the curriculum. There were none. I went to the University of Florida, Bachelor of Arts in Physics, and to the program that she was in. And while they do have a Bachelor of Arts of Physics teaching, that is not where her degree is in. Hers is in a Bachelor of Arts of Physics, and it's about applications of theories and practices in the world of physics. So, like I said, she's great. She has a great pedigree in her education. What she doesn't have is the art and science of education, nor does she have a practicum. I don't see that she's taken the praxis in teaching or in her subject areas. So hopefully she's working toward that. But that tells me more about who she is and who Heritage hired. So she is on what's called a subject area certificate, her license, which means it's usually in a STEM field. I'm kind of surprised that they gave it to someone with so limited of experience in the field so far because she was so young. But anyways, I did my investigation. I did the same thing on every other new teacher at the school. And it was really easy to look them up and to find this information on their education and their work history. So that was the first piece I did. Then let's leave behind the school and LinkedIn, and let's go to my work with the dispatch. Okay. What I did with the dispatch was I put every teacher's name and in a search engine, and I put their full name as found in the staff directory, and I pulled up some of the previous teachers who are now gone and their history, and found that some of them have some cool things in their background and some of them not so cool. So in Google, I used phrases like first name, last name, arrested, first name, last name, convicted. One of the ones I pulled up is from 2009. Uh, it was a raid that was conducted in Oktibbeha County in Starkville. And the reason why I did this was there was a teacher at Heritage who was quite popular. He taught there for several years, but he's been going around town saying that what I wrote about the background on that teacher, one, he said it was not public record and that I shouldn't be posting it about it. I didn't name his name. He actually outed himself. So I wanted to show you where I find this information and how you too can find it. So this is the Dispatch, our local paper. And I knew that his name was Kenneth B. Kidders, Kenneth Brad Kidder. I think it's Bradley, actually. And I put it into the search bar with Google, and it yielded this article, Raid Yields Pot and Cash. And you can see he was 22 when he was arrested. He had a bond of $6,000, and he had marijuana and Schedule 4 controlled drugs. So it was a conspiracy to sell and possession. So possession of the Schedule 4 drugs, he might not have had very many. Schedule 4 is usually things like Darvocet, some more heavy duty painkillers. But the marijuana, when I did more research, he actually was convicted. He did 6 months in the Oktibbeha County Jail, and then he was on probation for 5 years. And at that point, it tells you in the other article how many ounces he had. So that's just what it is, and that's where I found it. And nobody told me any insider information. It was very public at the time it happened. A local restaurant sold t-shirts that said free Kidder. So this isn't a big secret in this town. We live in a small town. So, the information's out there and it's fairly easy to find. So that was that. So that kind of explains how I found that information. So that's one. So now I'm going to go to, let me close that. So now I'm going to go to the other person. So I was doing research on Jonathan Banks, who is a PE teacher in the elementary school at Heritage currently, and he is a football coach under Tobias Smith, who Coach Harrison, headmaster Sean Harrison, brought on board to be the head coach, and Banks played in the pros for I think 5 years. I just went and did a little research, and again, the same thing. I put in Jonathan Banks arrested, and it shows up right here. So in the search bar, when I searched for that, that came right back. There's the picture, and then the details. Now, in this particular case, he wasn't convicted. The wife didn't press charges. That's in another article. And then he coaches at New Hope. He's there very, very briefly, and then he is hired at Heritage. So there again, there's the information. It's easy to find. I'm not making it up. The article is dated March 11th, 2020. So now that leads me to financial concerns that I want to talk about. I always look at financials. So here's the thing that you have to remember. I'm going to go back to the search page. I wanted to look up Heritage Academy's financial information. They are a 501c3, as it says right here, 501c3, and they're also called the Columbus Educational Foundation. I knew that I can go and ask them for this information and do a public records request. Except they don't have to comply with anything except it's just they can give you their 990s. Now, I'm going to show you how I did that. So I went up here and I typed in as you can tell, I'm doing Civil War history again. I typed in Heritage Academy 990s. Okay. And what that does is that pulls up several organizations that publish the 990s that are with the federal government. I went with Cause IQ. I've used their work before. ProPublica is also a very highly recognized organization for publishing. It's a publishing clearinghouse of 990s for nonprofits. So I clicked on this. Here we go. And here we are. We can look at they are 501c3, have 122 employees. They were formed in 1964. And we can see their most recent tax filings were 7/01/2023, which actually means that those are the 2022 year of taxes. So pull those up. I can see year to year. I can see their total expenses were a little under 4,000. Their total revenues were over 5,000. Their assets, their number of employees. Now, I can look at comparatives. I can look at who funds them, where they get some of their money from. So they got money, they got a grant from Alabama Power, one from International Paper, and Amazon Smile Foundation, but that doesn't exist anymore. I can look and see who's on their board, and I can open this up. I see that most of their board is volunteer, with the exception of their treasurer, Kirk Hardy, who gets paid $12,000 a year. I think he's a CPA. So he's doing their books, and then those get turned over. He does their financials, which then get turned over to TE Lot, and TE Lot files them. And I don't know who their auditor is, but that will be a next thing for me to go find out. Okay. Then I can look at the financials here. I can see that total grants and contributions. Well, the year before, they only got 382,000 in grants, and that year they got $1,646,061 in grants. That was a 330.9% increase in grants and contributions. Their program services, their investments, and their net income, and then their total revenues. They definitely had an increase in total revenues. So then I can look at the individual 990s. Now I can go back. This one will be 2019, 2020, blah, blah, blah. So let's pull this one up. Actually, 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, and 2022. And then there's some more. Now, I can either download this and look at it as a separate document, or I can look at it online. And so I will go through these and I can see that, here's what they pay in salaries. They pay $2,659,000. What their expenses were. We can see how much they collect in tuition. We can see what they spend in program services. So they spent $3,676,910 in program service revenue, and their contributions and grants were $1,646,000. We can go on down and we can see that the year before their net fund balance was $3,470,000, and in 2022 it was $5,293,661. Now I presume that the large grant they got of $1,244,000 was ARPA, but I don't know because it's not listed. It just says government grants. Now, what we don't know is what are the conditions of that grant? What are the parameters they have to abide by? We don't know what it gets spent on. We don't know how that's been, if it's been dispersed yet. We don't know anything more. We just know they have that money. That's it. But we know it's there. So I can go back through here. There's Hardy's payment that he has reportable compensation for his time. As you can see, none of the other board members do. They're all volunteer. We can keep going down, and there's the government grant right here. Contributions, gifts, and grants. They got $1,244,242 in government grants. Their other contributions and gifts and grants and similar amounts is $401,819. And then in kind, meaning non-cash contributions, is $4,922, which is where they get, when they total it, that $1,646,061 that's above. They then had $3,208,193 in tuition. They collected $377,695 in fees, $63,683 in gate receipts, and $339 in concessions and store, meaning they made some money. They had $3,676,910 coming into that school from these items: tuition, fees, gate receipts, concessions. That was their investment. Income was $119,486. They had fundraising. Their net from fundraising was $235,362. And then we get all the way to the end, and their total revenue is $5,704,961. That's a lot of money. So I look at all these things, and I'm going to scroll on down to the bottom. And then I look, all the breakout, the explanatory materials are here. I'm going to go to part 8. And 9. So there's nothing's listed. And I go to the very end, and this is what I find most interesting. Non-discrimination stated in his advertisements on his promissory note on school tuition, which Good. It said, in this year, they didn't receive any money for driver's education program, but they did receive $5,705 through the Columbus Public Schools for Title II programs. Now, the previous year, they received, I believe, 5,000 for driver's ed and 10,000 from Title II. It's not clear to me why a private school is entitled to Columbus Public School monies, which would probably be Title II is a federal program. So I'll have to do a little more investigation. Now this triggers something in me that says, okay, where is this information? And does it matter? Why are they getting this money? Are they supposed to? So I will investigate what Title II program is. To my understanding, it has to do with the services for students who are very low income, like indigent children, and also for students with learning disabilities. So trying to find out where this money went and what it was allocated for and was it used for that allocation is going to take a little bit more investigating. But mostly what I'm going to do is first go talk to somebody at the district to find out a little bit more about how the Title II program works in the Columbus Public Schools and how and why the Heritage is eligible for some of that funding. There you go. It's just basic research. And that's essentially what I do. I am not doing anything that you can't do. It's basic research. It's available. It's public. This is all publicly available information. There's no insider trading. There's no insider information. There's nothing I'm doing is not available in the public sector. Everything can be found. It's just a matter of how you go and research it. So if you want to double check on what I've said and the information and where I've gotten my information from, go look yourself. Go look up the news teachers. Go to their LinkedIn. Look for their personal pages. Look on their background. See what they have to say. Were they a coach before? Is this new for them? Did they play the sport they're coaching? What are these people doing and how did they get there and why were they chosen and why do they matter and why are they the best for the job? It's all you got to do. Do basic research. I have been accused of making stuff up. I have been accused of not knowing what I'm talking about. I'm just showing you the information. You too can go and look for information about where your student goes to school, about who's coaching your child, about the programs available for your child and how they are funded and what kind of funding that school has or that nonprofit organization. You too can go and use publicly available information. You might have to dig a little. You might have to be a little creative in your search, but you too can go and find the information that I am presenting and see for yourself. Just check. That's all you got to do. Be a responsible consumer and don't just take everything on face value. Do a little bit of your own digging. Ask questions. Everybody has the same right to find the information and to ask questions. These are your children. This is your community. This is my community. These children that are learning in this environment are going to come back to this town after they go to university, after they go learn a trade. They're going to be our doctors, our lawyers, our dentists, our teachers, our plumbers, our electricians. They're going to be our leaders in our government. They deserve the best education that we as a community can give them, whether it's private or public, it doesn't matter. They deserve to know the truth and they deserve to be taught by people who are highly qualified, especially if you're paying almost $9,000 a year for their education. Be good consumers, do your own homework, ask questions, and if you can't find something, let me know and I'll send you the link and I'll help you out. Thanks for following me on the Tombigbee Tales, and this applies to every community in the United States. You too can go and do this type of research and find the same information I've found. Until next time.